Hey everybody, welcome to the next episode of Becoming a Powerhouse Brand. Today I have a lovely guest on, Nicole Louise Winer, who I have known for, we were trying to work it out before recording actually. I think it's around 6 years. So Nicole's kind of been in and out of my world for multiple pivots that I've personally been through. And I'm really excited to have her on today because Nicole's got one of these, she's got this presence that's just very calm, very chilled, but she's built a beautifully, like incredibly successful business. And I just thought it'd be a really powerful conversation to have where we could talk about scaling without the burnout. So, Nicole, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Hello.
Thank you. Could you do a bit of an introduction just to let our listeners know who you are and your background?
Of course. So thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I'm, as Jackie said, Nicole Louise Winer. My official title, I'm a business strategist, mentor, and coach. I blend together coaching, where I believe that clients have all of the answers within them, and then the complete opposite of that as a mentor. I know not everybody does because we only know what we know. And I use that to help people build, as you said, businesses actually without burnout in a way that creates space, that enables them to scale. And whatever that means individually to each person as well is different in terms of growth and goals. And there's no blueprint. So I don't work with, specific frameworks or one size fits all methods and stuff like that. It's all personalized to the individuals. And before I was doing what I do now. Well, my first business was a VA business, which I started in the beginning of 2018. Which I grew really, really quickly alongside caring for my nan full time as well, with an associate model. So, and now what I do is solo, just me. So I know how to grow businesses with associates and also without. Um, yeah.
Amazing. And before you were doing, like, even as an entrepreneur, you were in, was it global investment banking?
Yeah, I worked for HSBC for 10 years, over 10 years. It makes, I know, you know what's really funny as well? When I say this and people then see my face, they're like, the numbers don't add up. How have you done all these things? Because you look like you've just taken your nappies off. But yeah, I was there for over 10 years and I worked through all different parts of the organization from retail, commercial, trade, and then across UK, European, and global teams as well, like that sort of transition. And I started off there as a PA, moved up to being an EA, then I was a business manager. So across all different parts of the organization. To be honest, even when I was a PA, I was still doing business management responsibilities, but that's just me and I love doing that. So that's why I understand so much about the strategic side.
Yeah.
And that's why I understand a lot about the leadership positioning with managing teams as well and managing multiple projects at the same time, because that's what I was helping all the directors to manage across the business. So, yeah.
Amazing. So, in terms of like making that change from obviously working in the global investment banking, how did you get to creating your own business? Like, what was that shift that happened for you?
So one of the things, again, part of my backstory, my parents ran their own business. I think their driver was when I came into the world and they wanted more freedom and flexibility. However, even though that eventually gave us more freedom and flexibility, what it meant was they had a catering business and they would be working when everyone else was socializing. So evenings and weekends and school holidays, when everyone else was out and it was, busy out with the public, that's when they were at work. So one of the things that always was there for me is, and then when I went into banking, was about time and spending time with people that you love. And even when you have, I mean, let's be honest, bankers and massive bonuses and all of the rest of that stuff and big salaries and all of that, there was no time. They didn't have time to enjoy life, and that was always really important for me. So I was always really boundaried around my time, my hours, my contract, and like what I was there to do. And I was incredibly efficient, top performer, but I would start at 8, leave at 4, have an hour's lunch break every day. Like I was like really, really rigid with that. And it still meant that I was performing really well and all of that stuff. But it didn't fit the culture because so many other people were like coming in early, leaving late, choosing to not work, choosing to work over their lunch and stuff like that. So I couldn't change that culture to allow, no matter what I did, the directors and the teams that I was implementing efficiencies for and doing it couldn't change. The culture was too big. And it kind of sounds a little bit defeatist in some ways, but also just realistic of going, this doesn't align with how I want to live my life.
Yeah.
And then it came to the point of my nan needing more care. Plus, we then moved from like the outskirts of London to Hertfordshire, and it all kind of ended up happening at the same time, where it was like, right, okay, yeah, now is the time to do that. So I could care for her as well. She lived next door. That was beautiful and challenging and all of those things as well.
Oh,
Yeah, and it all kind of just, in at the time it didn't feel like it, but the stars aligned kind of thing, you know?
yeah. Did you have like on your vision board that you wanted to have your own business? Like, did you have this dream of, I really want to be successful in my own business? Was that a thing for you?
Well, I grew up with the role models of both of my parents running a business and together, and they did things separately and together as well with business. So they both had their own businesses and then did bits together with the catering as well. So yes, I'd always wanted that because I could see parts of the flexibility that it created, but I didn't know what.
Yeah,
And I always thought that to have a business and a successful business, one, let's be honest about like having multi-million pound targets, that I thought that that was what a business meant as well. Um, but I just didn't know what. And I thought it had to be a new, innovative idea that no one else had done before and all these other things you hear about entrepreneurship. But I don't want to didn't want to do products like it was. And I think it was also a bit of an imposter thing where I felt like, well, surely I can't do that on my own, just me. Like, that's not an option. Like, why would that be an option? Like, who would pay me for what I know? And it's kind of like the curse of knowledge, isn't it? Where you think what you know is really easy because it is easy for you,
yeah,
but actually it's hard to then pick out and be like, and this is what I help my clients to do and go, no, that is incredibly valuable to someone else who doesn't know that. You know that, and it's easy for you because of your background, your skills, all the time you've put into that. So yeah, I always wanted to, but I didn't know kind of like how or what. And then with the first business, what happened was, so as a VA slash OBM in that business, the first business, and because I've got a psychology degree, I ended up doing a lot of personal support, and I don't mean life admin. For the clients I was working with. And I'd had a lot of strategic calls with them to set the direction and the vision and looking at data and making decisions and helping them to manage their teams when I was doing the VA work. And I realized that I was basically giving it all away for free because I mean, I was being paid like £35 an hour for very good strategic
yeah,
advice and coaching. And then it came to a point where I was like, well, okay, no, actually, this is really valuable. And then I went full time with that in 2020. So there was an evolution of it as well. It's not like I was like, right, I'm going to start a business. And I know you'll be familiar with this, with the evolution of going, this is the thing, and I've got to stick at that thing, and I've got to
yes.
do that and just do that, because otherwise I've kind of like what the world would say, you failed and you've not given it a shot, But yeah, it evolved naturally, and I'm sure it'll evolve again.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's a constant evolution, isn't it? It's always growing.
Mm.
There's always going to be a new goal, a new vision, even new values. Like I've found for me personally, as my business has grown, as my life has changed and everything, my values have changed as well. And I think
Mm.
a lot of people when they start a business, they think, right, this is the vision, this is the goal, and that's then not movable, that you can't adjust the goalposts. And actually, you have total control over what direction you want to go, don't you?
You do, and it's funny, isn't it? Because I think, especially if you've been in an employed position, the majority of the time, thinking of a hierarchy, the people at the top make the decisions, set the goals, and you just do the do, right? So you're
Yeah.
like, well, I can't change that because you're not used to it. You're not empowered. Again, I could go into a bit of a rant about what society sets us up for. But that's what we're encouraged to do. Do what you're told, do your exams, pass, do this, do all these things, but
Yeah.
actually like think independently. I think there is also a little part though of thinking and being aware of, especially if you're neurodiverse. And I have ADHD, so I'm familiar with this, and I'm also not, because it shows up in different ways for me, but sticking at it for long enough too, because I think sometimes there's a part of going, I've set myself this goal, and the goal is the right goal, but I haven't given it long enough to embed. But then sometimes they're like, I'm setting the goal and it's not actually my goal and it's not really what I want. So I'm reaching for something that isn't mine or isn't actually how or the way I want to do that. And there's just acknowledging both, because sometimes it isn't just going, oh, I'm just going to change it because I've given it 5 minutes and it hasn't kind of worked yet. Because you have to put the work in as well, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. What would you say are some of the most common beliefs and blocks that come up with your clients in terms of scaling their business? Because I think there's a lot of hustle culture, particularly for women, those that are new mums or those that have maybe left a very busy corporate life, into thinking you need to be doing all the things. And obviously, hard work is part of entrepreneurship. It's like you do have
Yeah.
to work hard, but it doesn't mean hustling all hours of the day to get everything done. So, what do you find are the most common beliefs and blocks that people have?
I would say the first one that comes to mind is that about thinking that if you're not doing more, you're not doing a good job, and having to fill all of your time with doing things for other people, especially as women.
Yeah.
Like I maybe it's a little bit different for me because I don't have kids, but like I do not subscribe to that as reality.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's really hard for women, but also I think if you've been in corporate positions in particular, and like I know some of my clients that have been in very senior corporate positions, it's really hard to let go of that external judgment that might come when, as we said, you're the one setting the agenda here now. Like there is nobody else telling you you are the boss, you are the one critiquing yourself.
Yeah.
However, there is also the part, I think, of scaling. So going, okay, I don't have to be doing more to be able to have more, like sometimes, but also acknowledging that it's it's also about understanding your own needs. And I think a lot of the time we don't spend time really understanding what they are.
Yeah.
So it's this whole Me Too, not in the way that the Me Too movement is, but more of like, oh, well, they've got it. Me too. I want that. But actually, it isn't what you want.
Yeah.
And going, actually, let me think about this. Is it mine? Is it somebody in my family that's given me this goal? Is it a friend? Is it someone I admire? Like, is it actually what I really want if I'm truly honest with myself? And that's one of the things that I help a lot of my clients with, like really, really going, I go, questioning, is that yours? Because there's hesitation there, or is that yours? Because we've been trying this for a couple of months with the way you're saying and what's going on. There's blocks. It seems to be something else going on underneath. What
Yeah.
is that? Um, yeah, I'd say those two.
Amazing. And one thing that stands out for me, so I went, if anyone is listening to this, I went on Nicole's retreat in the Cotswolds the end of last year, and it was my first ever retreat I've been on. And it was just really eye-opening to spend that time working on what it is that you want without all the external noise, with actually having that space to focus on you as an individual. And obviously you got all of us around the room to go through like what lights us up the most, what do we like doing, like what does freedom and space and everything look like to us. And one of the things that has always stood out for me when it comes to you, Nicole, is that you love Netflix. Like you have
Yeah.
you have you have scaled your business in a way that allows you to watch Netflix like
In
in
the
your
middle of
life.
the
And
day on a Wednesday, yeah.
I love that. But I just think that's such an amazing thing. And for so many people, when they're in that early stage of business or when they're scaling, they're doing all of the things, they're hustling, they're working really, really hard, that actually when they hear something like that, they might be thinking, what? Like, how does she have time for that? But it's how you scale your business in a way that works for you, that allows you to do the things that you love. Because otherwise, like, what is the point?
Exactly. And this is the thing, like so many people leave well paid. I mean, we'll use the word stable loosely, but corporate positions, I mean, because they can pull the rug under you from any time and it's kind of like
Yeah.
a false sense of security. But we leave that knowing exactly what the paycheck's going to look like every month. You get the sick pay, you get the holiday, you get all of that. And then you're like, oh, I want more freedom though. And then what happens is you end up exchanging a 40-hour work week for an 80-hour work week. And then you feel absolutely fucking knackered and you're hating on the decision that you've made. And you feel, even if you're making good money, you're absolutely exhausted. And I think there's also this part of going, yes, actually at the beginning we need to acknowledge you need to put more work and time in, but over time, once you've established the foundations and they're strong, when you do start to grow and scale from there, you can let go of some of that. And I think that's one of the other blocks that comes up, is going, it's that evolution and the shift of going, right, I was at this stage, but no, I'm not at that stage anymore. So you can step away. And if you do have goals, and let's be honest, the majority of people do, they don't want to be working 5 days a week for 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours a day. They don't.
Yeah.
Um, And people always say to me, how do you fit it all in? Well, my business is designed to let me fit it all in. My offers, the way I market, everything is my model is designed to give me space. I don't want I not only do I not want to, but I also, as an introvert with ADHD, cannot pack my calendar out with calls. It is not good for my mental health. It's not
Yeah.
good for my overall well-being. So actually, and this is people laugh at this, but Netflix makes me better at my job. It recharges me, it allows me to switch off. I watch Netflix while I'm playing Disney Dreamlight Valley on my Switch or playing Airplane Chefs on my iPad right now. That's what I do. Like, and it helps me to be a better coach. It helps me to be more present. It helps me to be, I mean, I say to my clients often, which they laugh at, but I think about them in the shower. I think about them when I'm driving. Those times when you get ideas. I don't just get
Yeah.
those ideas for myself by switching off and giving myself that space when I'm on a walk in the forest with a dog at like 3 p.m. in the afternoon. I get ideas for other people as well as ideas for myself. And I know that I need to do that to also make me great at what I do. But also, I just need that for myself anyway. There doesn't have to be an excuse as to why for somebody else.
Yeah.
And I think people can really struggle with that, like, and going, it's okay. And it almost feels selfish.
Yeah. And it's also that fear of being judged, isn't it? And I know like you're a huge advocate for kindness and anti-bullying
Mm.
and all of that, like scaling in a way that it works for you confidently. But as someone that is introverted with ADHD, and there are a lot of women that do worry so much about being judged by those online. I mean, when you're building a business, particularly in the online space, you're accessible to anybody. And that is a really scary thing for somebody that hasn't necessarily got to the other side of that, of feeling confident in themselves. So, yeah, did you find it difficult at the beginning as an introvert to be showing up online to actually scale your business? Because you've got a huge following on LinkedIn now.
Yeah. We're at nearly 22. It blows my tiny mind, like 22,000 followers almost, which is just nuts.
That's
And I
crazy.
always say, like, if that many people showed up in a room to listen to me speak, I'm not coming.
Yeah.
But for me, it works because I have that distance between the fact that it's inside my phone or my laptop and then my life's over here.
Yeah.
Um, and at the beginning, I did struggle. And actually, I'll be honest, sometimes I still do. I think that's normal, though.
Yeah.
I struggle particularly with the things, and I always did, and less so now, but I still do sometimes struggle with the things where I'm being a little bit more vulnerable and sharing the personal things. But again, as you will know, as with branding and building that know, love, trust quickly, it's vital, but it's the scariest piece. It's actually easier, even though it can still feel scary for people, to share your skills and your knowledge and your experience and going, this is what I'm great at, this is what I help my clients to do, these are some client wins. Like, but actually the parts of when you're showing yourself, especially when you're service based, right? There's thousands of brand strategists, there's thousands of business strategists, there's thousands of coaches, mentors, just graphic designers, photographers, whoever, we can go into all the niches.
Yeah.
The reason people choose you is because of your energy, your vibe, your values that align with them. Like, so it's about showing those things. And it is difficult, especially for me, it was hard having been bullied a lot as a kid. It brought up a lot of that stuff. And I think, I mean, I write this in my marketing all the time now, but like if they're not paying your bills, stop giving them control.
Yeah.
And those people who were there from school days, ex-boyfriends, the boyfriend I had when I was 16. Oh my God, what if he sees it? And what if he thinks, who the hell is she? Like, number one, if you ever came to me, like, you're not working with me anyway. So I don't care. I'm going to stop giving you control over that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to allow things that I don't even know whether you're thinking or not either, because you're kind of making a story, you're creating a story in your head. Stop giving them control. Easier said than done, I know.
Yeah. And I mean, like watching you, like you've created a hugely successful business and it's only obviously going to go up, but you'll continue to support these incredible people to scale their own businesses as well. But you've done it in such a beautiful way that it's totally aligned to you. Like if you look at your brand, how you show up online and you meet you in real life, it's
Mm.
the same. And I think that's one message I'm always saying to people when I speak to them is it building a brand is not about shouting the loudest. It's not about having the brightest colors. It's about just being you in a way that is confident and totally aligned to who you are because you'll bring in those types of people. Like every single person on your retreat was all kind of peaceful, just the whole atmosphere was very like tranquil, and everyone was there to support and celebrate each other. And it was just a really beautiful presence. And I think if you weren't showing up as who you were, you end up bringing in so many different people with contrasting personality types and everything. And that doesn't always work, especially in that kind of space. So building your brand through integrity, through being who you actually are, is how you become magnetic to your kind of people. And I think you've just done such an incredible job of doing that. You just bring in those amazing humans into your world.
Thank you so much for saying that because that's really important to me. It's really important that people come away from any experience, whether it's my treats, my masterminds, whether it's in person, online, like whatever that is, of feeling like that safe space is there where they're seen and can be themselves as well. I
Yeah.
think that's one of the other things I know it's better than it used to be, but especially like that stigma around groups of women. And
Yeah.
I do work with men as well, but I work on my retreats, it's women only. But yeah, there's that stigma, isn't there, around like, oh, it's going to be a little bit bitchy, or it's going to be a bit catty, a bit judgy. So it's really important to me that people come away with that. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah. If you could go back and go into your earlier business, what would be one piece of advice you would give yourself? Is there anything that
Stop.
you would change at all?
I would stop overthinking it, but I have ADHD, so that's really difficult.
Did you know you had ADHD at the beginning of your business?
No,
So would you
no.
maybe look, well, I don't even know if that was an option then to be diagnosed in
Well, I'm not clinically diagnosed, I'm
okay.
self-diagnosed. And that was probably the realization for me around that was probably around 2.5, 3 years ago. Um, so yeah, but then it's really interesting, isn't it? Because going back and looking at like, well, if I hadn't done it that way, maybe I wouldn't be where I
Yeah.
am now. Maybe that wouldn't have led me down that path. But generally, I do think for people in early stages of business, and definitely what I was like, you overthink everything. And also, it's incredibly overwhelming with the amount of stuff you actually have to do. Now, bear in mind, I worked at the top levels of a global organization. So I got it, right? There was like, there's finance, there's HR, there's accounts, there's marketing, there's sales, there's implementation, there's projects, there's all these parts that you have to bring together. But when you're in an organization, someone else is specialized. Hundreds of people are specialized in each of those departments to make that happen.
Yeah.
When you work for yourself, you have to have all of those skills because at the beginning, most people don't have the budget to outsource that.
Yeah.
So it's also about going, well, and this is why I love, well, and I don't work with people who are brand new in business anymore, but find someone that can help you to upskill and learn those things from someone who's done it, from someone who gets it, whether that's a course, whether that's an investment in a one-to-one or like whatever that is that you're doing, watch some bloody videos. I don't know, like just learn the skills of all of the key parts that make a global organization work because
Yeah.
it's exactly the same when you work for yourself, no matter whether you call it accounts or finance or whether you call it systems and tech or IT support. Like it doesn't matter. Like
Yeah.
you have to know all of those things. So yeah, I would say not to overthink it, but also just, and I was in a privileged position that I had had those skills and experience before and got all of that. But even so, it was very different coming into doing it for myself because the systems aren't the same that you're using, and the level of what you're doing that at is different. So yeah, learn the skills of all the different parts that need to make a business go together like a puzzle, and don't overthink it.
I love that. What is next for you? Is there anything exciting that's coming up for you that you're working on?
I am actually, I'm not sure when this will come out, but I am hosting a mini mind experience in June, which I'm really excited about. It actually comes out tomorrow, at the time of recording. And there's just, I really want to give people more of a taster of what it's like to come into my spaces. I think there's so much noise, and a lot of bullshit in the online
Yeah.
space about scaling and the way to do that and blueprints and all of that kind of stuff. And I'm really excited about that because it's a really easy access point for people. So that's brand new, not done this before. So really, really excited about that. I've got my retreat in September. which is really exciting too. And then just more of the same for me. Like, really, the model that I use works really well. It enables me to have a really healthy amount of income whilst also having the time. And that's really important for me. So, scaling also as a point for people doesn't have to look like more money.
Yeah.
It can be the same money and working a lot less. And this is what happens inside my long-term masterminds, especially like all of the people in there. Two of them at the beginning of this year were like, yeah, but I don't know what to do with all this free time I have right now. I was like, great, let's find some new hobbies. Because they're earning the money and they're working so much less. They're like, I feel like I'm missing a trick because I've got all of this time. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's the point.
Yeah.
Well done, you're there. Like, that is
Yeah.
exactly where we want to be. And then it's about maintaining that and not stepping over into the I'm just going to do all of the hobbies and none of the work.
Yeah,
You still
exactly.
have to put the work
There
in.
needs to be some balance, doesn't
Yeah.
there? Oh, amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today, Nicole. How can our listeners connect with you, stay in touch? Do you have any like free resources or anything that they can grab?
I am working on a couple of new free resources at the moment, but they'll be available on my website, which is just
Amazing.
NicoleLouiseOnline.com, or come and stalk me on LinkedIn. I hang out there most, Nicole Louise Winer. I think I'm the only one.
Perfect. I will put the links in the show notes below, so make sure you go and check out Nicole. Thank you so much for coming on the show. If you've
Thanks for having
enjoyed
me.
this episode, everybody, please do leave a review, drop Nicole a message, drop myself a message, and let us know what key takeaways you had from this episode. And I will see you in the next episode. Thanks, guys. Bye.